So when we talk about the routes learning from other autonomous system, the routes are advertised as type 5 LSA. LSA type 5 advertisements in the routing table will be shown by default as E2. For that, I would like to take a topology. Uh, so what do we have here? We have EIGRP on the right hand side, router 9. The EIGRP routes are given to OSPF. On router 8, we do that redistribution. So router 8 is the ASPR. We also have another EIGRP on the left. Do not focus it. Now just ignore it. Just ignore it. We are going to understand what is E1, means external type 1, external type 2, N1, not so stubby area type 1, N2, not so stubby area type 2. Right. So let us go and verify the routes of EIGRP inside OSPF. Now, for that, I should see what redistribution is done here. Show run section router OSPF. Redistribution is already done. You see, it is said redistribute EIGRP 100 subnets. Under OSPF, you should mention the word subnet. Only then the subnetted networks of EIGRP will be given inside OSPF. If not, only the classful networks from EIGRP will be given. Now, secondly, what you don't see here is the metric for EIGRP networks. See, we are taking EIGRP networks, which has got a composite metric, EIGRP's metric. But when you redistribute, that EIGRP metric will not be considered by OSPF. Then what will be the metric for those EIGRP routes? You need to give it, or it is going to take it by default as 20. So for all these networks 999999999 that I have and 10.89 that I have in EIGRP, the metric is going to be 20. When you don't give a metric while redistributing from other source into OSPF, the networks of other source will have a metric of 20. Let us go and verify that on R5. On R5, when you type show IP route OSPF, okay, I see only 10.89, and you see the metric is 20. And you see E2, external type 2. Now, why these networks are not seen? Let us go to router 9 and check whether EIGRP is running on those loopbacks. Show IP interface brief. Hey, loopback, are you available? Yes. Show IP EIGRP interface brief. Sorry, EIGRP interfaces. EIGRP. Show IP EIGRP interface. What? Let's run EIGRP. Router EIGRP 100. Networks are 10. Network 9. Actually, EIGRP was not running. That is why. No, to summary. Fine. So now, if you go back and check here, you see the metric is 20. Now I go back to 8 and I'm going to change the redistribution statement. I'm going to say redistribute EIGRP subnet, let's say 200. Sorry, metric 200. See, metric space 200. I have given
The
space.
no is there.
Okay. Metric 200. Yeah, I have given metric 200. Now, when I go and check the route in the routing table of R5, instead of 20, I'll see 200. Okay, 200. And what is you see that here? E2. Now, when you go to router 2 and check the same, show IP route OSPF, what something is wrong between router 2 and 3. How do I know? Because I don't see 5.5.5.5 here. So some configurations are missing. Kindly mute if you don't have a question. Show IP OSPF interface if, and I see OSPF is running fine on this. Oh no. On F0/1, it is in area 0. F0/1 should be in area 20. sorry. This is right. This is router 2. I need to go to router 3. Show IP OSPF neighbor. It has got neighbor with router 2. Show IP interface brief. Now when I check F01, F01 is in area 20. There is no problem. This is correct. Let us go to router 5. This may have some problems. Show IP OSPF interfaces. Brief. Kindly mute if you don't have a question. Someone has turned on the internet. Now, F00 is in area 20. Good. Then why there is no neighbor? Show IP OSPF neighbor. There is there is neighbor with router 3, but for some reason it is down. Why it is down? Show IP interface brief on router 3.
In router 9, do we need the default route?
1 minute. Router 9 what?
Default route?
Why you are asking about the default route? What default route we did?
This router 2, still it is not getting that networks, right?
No, where did you see default route?
I did the lab yesterday. I also faced same thing. I
No,
didn't
that
get
is
that.
different. No, don't bring
Okay.
it. I don't have any default route here. Show IP route
Okay.
OSP. Where is the default route? There is no default route. I don't have any default routes. Now, on router 5, I am not seeing any routes coming from router 3. But when I type show IP OSP neighbor, I do see neighbor, but the neighbor is found down. What might be the problem? Show run interface F00. This is OSP 20 perfect. Master/16. Okay, likewise on R3, show run interface F0/1 master/16. So this is silly router problem, so I'm going to simply save this, restart. Likewise, R3 also I would like to restart. So we see the neighbor between router 5 and 8 has come, but still it has not come with the 3 show IP OSPF brief. Via this F00 interface, still it is in waiting state. On router 3, show IP OSPF interface brief. Here also it is in waiting state. Why it is waiting so long? Is there any problem with the cable? I'm able to ping. Oh no, both cannot be DR, so there is some issue. There is some issue with router. Show run section router OSPF. I think some stub configurations are there. This is not removed. That is the problem. Earlier in the previous batch, I had this, and this is not removed. Okay, the neighbor will come now. Now we are resuming from where we left. Where we left is we were able to see these 9 networks with the cost that I gave as a seed metric. What metric? Seed. 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 Now, what is the metric that I gave? 200. When I received on router 5, it should have incremented. Why? There is a link in between. There is a cost involved. But there was no incrementation. Show IP route OSPF, there was no incrementation. You simply had only 200. There was no change in the cost. Now, if you go to R3 and check, even here, there is no increment to the metric. Now, if you go to router 2 and check, there is no increment again. But there are a lot of wires in the middle. This is what called as E2. External type 2 means path cost should not be added. Whatever is given as a seed metric need to be maintained. So if I don't give seed metric 200, what would have been the metric? 20. And the 20 would have continued. Right? The 20 would have continued even when you go and check in R6, show IP route OSPF. It is still the same 200. This is what called as E2. I'm going to make it as E1. What is E1? Add the path cost. See, I'm going to say metric type as, you see, 1 or 2. 2 is default. I'm going to switch to 1. Now if I'll go back to router 6, which is in the other end, I should see something more than 200. See, on router 8, 200. When it comes to router 5, the link cost is 1, so 201. 202 when it comes to 3. 203 when it comes to 2. 204, 205, 206 is what I'm expecting here. Look at this. Oh no, sorry. 251. Maybe there is some cost difference. The link has got more cost. So you see the path cost has changed. The path cost is changed when it is E1. The path cost is incremented. Sorry, the metric is incremented by adding the path cost. Not path cost is changed. The metric is changed. It is not the same seed metric. The seed has germinated, it has given plumule and radicals, and soon it is going to give you apple. It has grown. That is the meaning I meant. It has grown from 200 to 251. The seed has been grown into plant by adding the cost in the path, which is E1. Did you understand this?
Yep, the thing is, it sounds good. Like for the type 2, it will advertise only the redistribution original matrix. For the type 1,
Mhm.
it will add all the path cost, including the redistribution one. Correct?
Yes.
So definitely it will take E1 will take over E2, the priority.
Of course, if you have E1 and E2, E1 will be taking priority, right? And you will not have E1 and N1. If it is so, then N1 will be taken priority. Between N1 and N2 also, N1 will be priority. This is olden days teaching. I don't know from where you copied this terminology. Someone, especially in India, only made this theory. It is not in document. Uh, Comparing E1 is prioritized, but in no scenario you will get both in the
Oh
real
yes,
world.
I got it. I got it from the book, from the
Who
CCNP book,
who is
the
the
new
author?
one.
Who is the author of the book? He should be an Indian. Check it.
Uh,
Or he copied
oh,
from an Indian.
oh no, it is the new CCNP NRC book.
Mhm.
The new CCNP NRC book,
Sorry for that, but
content one.
there is no meaning in that type of comparison. The reason is if someone changes to E2, all area will have E2. If someone while redistributing changes to E1, everywhere it is going to be E1.
Okay, yeah,
Then if
fine.
someone changes to not so stubby area, everywhere it is going to be N2 by default. And if they change the metric type to 1, then it is going to be N1. So, uh, i- like 12 years, so 14 years back, I also heard this type of comparison stories. But when I see in production and in classrooms, I've never seen anyone comparing this. There is no necessity. Necessity did not
I,
come.
I don't know basically.
Anyways,
I
that's
just
why.
because I don't have any experience in even in networking. I mean, not at all.
The comparison that they have written there, we can use for kind of argument's sake. Like when someone is saying, "Hey, if you take this bus, it is 700 US." But someone is saying, sorry, 700 plus US. The other guy is saying it is 710 US. Which one you choose? You choose 710. Because the other guy said 700 plus. It may be 730, it may be 790. So I do not want to go with something, say 700 plus. But when you say 710, it's more accurate. E1 is more accurate than E2. So E2 is preferred. It's very general knowledge. Likewise, N1 or N2, N2 is not preferred because again same like E2, N2 also no path cost added. N1 path cost is added. So that's a story. And if you will have N and E in an area, which means that area is a not so stubby area. I tell you 100%, I write and give you, nowhere on earth you can show in an area both N and E. That's a funny comparison, but for argument, yes, what is having more weightage, E or N? Of course, N. N will have more weightage. But in the real world, this argument will not suit anywhere. Special area types. We have 4 area types: stub, totally stub, not so stub, totally not so stub. 4 types. What is stub area? The area when you configure as a stub area, that area will not have type 4 and type 5 in the database. That area router will not have. Why? The ABR of that area will block it. To make that area as a stub area, the ABR of the router will block type 4 and type 5. Will block type 4 and type 5. Then how will you reach the external network? A default route as the type 3 will be injected. This router will inject a default route to all the inside routers. So that these routers, when they do not know the external route, they can use the default route and come to the gateway. This guy is connected to area 0, so he has got type 5. He knows where is the external network. He forwards it. Let us do this in the lab and then we'll come back here. It will be easy. You see, this is the external network. When I check in router 4 now, show IP route OSPF, I see those external routes. Show IP OSPF database. Those external routes given to you by router 8. This is type 4 LSA. You see, type 4 is the router ID of ASBR. And these external routes are coming inside as type 5. Now, when I make this area as a stub area, I will not be seeing this too, which means I will not be learning these networks, which are coming from EIGRP. Instead, I will have a default route right below the summary. I'll have 0.0. Right now, you don't see 0.0. Not even here in the routing table also, you don't see any default route. After I make this area stub area, I'll see a default route. This is what Arun was telling. Arun was telling some time back. We don't have stub as of now, so you don't have default route. Now I'm going to make this router, this area as a stub area. As soon as I do that, the routing table will go smaller. You see, right now, show IP route summary. The size of the routing table is 6,000, in which the external E1 routes are 5 routes. These 5 routes will become 0. Instead, there will be one default route added as the type 3, which is inter area. So this will become 12 and this will become 0. And this type of changes you will notice in router 6 also. And this size will reduce from 6,708. It may reduce to 6,000 something because there is only 5 network. Let's do that. But before that, I want to capture OSPF packet using Wireshark and show you before and after stub. Before stub, if you see, I click this OSPF hello packet, and when I go inside and see under the not TLV, under the option command, you see external routing capable. What does that mean? It means that it will accept type 4 and 5. That is what external E1, E2. But after I configure stub, you will see not supported or not capable, you will get not capable. In this place, instead of capable, it will be not capable. Let us do this. So configuring stub, you should do it on every router in this area. I'll start from router 1. Config T router OSPF 1. Area 10 is a stub. That's all the command. As soon as you do this, the neighbor will go down. You know why? The reason why is you will see in the Wireshark. The packet that is coming from router 1 is saying not capable because we configured what? Stub. But the hello coming from router 4 is still says capable, not matching. See again, router 1 says not capable, but router 4 says capable. This should match actually. The stub type should match. It's not matching. So router 1 and router 4 lost the neighborship. You see the neighborship forcefully down. Let us go to router 4 and say router OSPF 1 area 10 is a stub. Now the neighborship will come up, but the neighbor with 6 will go down. So go back to 6 again and say router OSPF 1 area 10 is a stub. Boom. Now we have configured. Now the neighborship has resetted and come back again. Now go to router 5 where we were testing earlier. Earlier when you were checking, sorry, not router 5, router 4. Earlier when we were checking on router 4, the size of the routing table was 6,708, but now it is 5,632. As I said, the external has become 0. From 11, it has become 12. If you check the routing table, show IP route OSPF, you got a default route, as IA means type 3 LSA has given the default route. And you don't see E1 or E2 because show IP OSPF database, there is no type 5 or type 4. Only type 3 has got a new additional default route. So with this, you can very well ping those EIGRP networks. Because you got a default route, you can ping. Now, if I ping, the ping won't happen because EIGRP do not know the OSPF networks. The packet will go, but the return packet will not come. For that, what I need to do is I need to go to router 8, go under router EIGRP 100 and say redistribute OSPF 1 metrics or simply give one. This is EIGRP metric. Now, as a result, if you go to router 6 back and try pinging, the ping will happen. So we have successfully learned one special area type called stub. No type 4 and type 5 will be seen in the database. If you see the database, you see type 1 router LSA, type 2 network LSA, type 3 summary LSA, but there is no type 4 and 5, which was earlier, but now it is no more. Earlier when we were checking, there was type 4 and 5, and there was no default route. But now here the default route is added, you see, default route is added up to this 222, and 4 and 5 disappeared, which is totally stub. Total stub will prevent even type 3 coming in. You will have only one default route, all this will disappear. For that, you need to just go to the ABR and add one command, no summary, no hyphen summary. That's all. On the 4 and 6, you still need to have that stub configured. Only on router 1, you say no summary. What is summary? Type 3 LSA. As a result, if you go back to router 4 and check the database, you see you got only one default route as type 3. And the size of the routing table is very small. You have only one default route, but still you will be able to ping that 9999, which is external. You can still ping the other area routes like 2222. And the size of the routing table is much, much more smaller. It's only 2000. From 8000, it has come down to 2000. So we have seen two special area types. Now two more is left, which is NSSA, where you will be learning N1 and N2. And then totally NSSA, we have to see, and then authentication. With that,